Dying. It's something we all do when we're playing a video game, but there's typically a way to prevent this. And no, I'm not talking about blocking an attack or just getting good. I'm talking about healing. A mechanic in almost every game, from platformers, shooters, and even RPGs. Today, we're gonna look over the idea of healing, what works and what doesn't. I don't think I have to explain what healing is, it's pretty self-explanatory, but what the idea adds to an experience might be nice to explain. Even if we go all the way back to arcade games, healing and lives were a major factor. In Galaga, you can earn more lives by shooting down captured ships. Pac-Man, you can get an extra life for obtaining 10,000 points. The idea of lives may seem like a whole different mechanic, but in reality, they're kind of the same thing. Compare it to a more recent game like Binding of Isaac. Each heart is like a life, and when you run out, you have to start all the way back at the beginning. And please don't leave a comment about Isaac having an extra life system as well, because I know about it, okay? This was just an example. So what does this all add to the experience though? It's really not that complicated of a question to figure out. It adds intensity. It adds stakes. You know you have limited chances to tank a hit or make a mistake. And usually, the game is generous enough to give you a way to ease the stress, by healing. Dark Souls is a great example of this idea being put in place. These games are best known for their difficulty, so you're bound to be hit. And in a game as unforgiving as this, you need a chance to keep fighting. It allows you to get yourself back together and not make the same mistake again. Or you could take the horror game route and have heals be very sparse, giving the player even less openings for mistakes, adding even more intensity to the game. By having these heals be harder to craft or find, the game instantly becomes 5 times scarier. The stakes increase. Without a healing mechanic, video games would be borderline impossible, or it would be impossible to lose. We need to have control over our fate in a game in order to keep the pressure high, because nobody enjoys playing a game with God mode on. Now that we fully understand why we need healing in games, let's look at how to properly execute the idea. This is obviously going to be different across the various different game genres, so while the examples are going to be specific, it'll still cover majority of bases. Starting off simple, shields. They act as a second health bar over top of your main. These are almost always smaller than your actual HP and act as an extra protection that recharges over time rather than having the player use an item to heal. I love shields and think that when they're done right, they're incredible and really enhance the experience. Some great examples of this are in Halo, Overwatch, and even Borderlands to an extent. Having an entire role dedicated to healing is also very welcome around here. Supports are most commonly found in competitive multiplayer games, but can even be found in games like Dark Souls or Dark and Darker. These players have the task of keeping everyone else alive while staying out of the fire themselves. And if balanced properly, supports change up the entire way you play a game. In a game like League of Legends, players can't typically heal themselves for very much at all. Therefore, they need the extra player to come along and heal them to keep the game moving. Bringing up League is a perfect transition into the next technique, home bases. An area where the player is completely safe and is healed back up to full health. An even better example of this is in Left 4 Dead 2. Medpacks are very rare to find during an actual stage, and unless you're on easy mode, odds are you're going to be low by the end of it. So giving that player a chance to recuperate and get geared up for the next battle is great. These places also act as a checkpoint in most games where it's used, like Dark Souls' Bonfire for example. It fully heals and resets the player and acts as a checkpoint as well. FPS games have their own way of healing. In these games, you heal over time while out of combat, and I think that is perfect for the type of game that they're trying to be. Just imagine what Black Ops 2 multiplayer would have been like if you had to find a way to heal yourself rather than just hiding in a corner for 3 seconds. It slows down the experience drastically. This isn't without its flaws of course though. It has to be balanced correctly. When it's overtuned, you get Juggernog in World at War Zombies, where you out-heal the zombies hitting you. This next wave healing isn't as broad as the others and is very specific to turn-based games like Pokemon. Having a set health pool with the main healing option being on either the start or the other side of the obstacle is honestly a very fun concept. I think the main reason this works is due to a secondary healing option also being available to the player, that being purchasable items. Potions aren't exactly a turn-based exclusive in the slightest and can be found in almost every form of video game. Even if it's not an actual potion, it's the same mechanic. But giving the option to buy a small heal to make up for how difficult the main life support is to find is a fantastic idea, and whichever game invented that deserves a big pat on the back. Heals can always be a lot simpler than all of this though. A lot of games recently have been giving the player an item to use and upgrade throughout their journey that refills every time they accomplish a certain task. Whether it be beating a boss or even just walking through an area, these rechargeable heals add a feeling of assurance to the player while also keeping that much needed stress. We know we have heals on us at all times, but we also know our limit. Finally, I think that craftable heals are incredible. Making the player work and grind in order to stay alive is what it should all be about. It simulates our real-life instinct to hunt and gather for resources. Games like Minecraft, Resident Evil, or any other survival game are all great examples of this. Craftable healing is typically found in the form of food or a makeshift medicine, all of which usually have a different level to them. What I mean by that is, they heal for different amounts depending on how rare or hard they are to obtain. Take the steak from Minecraft for example. It fills your hunger bar a lot more compared to the bread, because cows are a lot harder to come by compared to wheat. It feels wrong to talk about all of this without mentioning the animations of these heals. It can range from a boring yellow or green aura around your model, all the way to your character performing surgery on themselves. And while it doesn't actually matter or affect the gameplay, it does affect the experience. Some games don't even have an animation at all, and that's okay. I just wish that they did. I'm not gonna dwell on this because it's not the point of the video, just something to keep in mind. I almost forgot to mention my favorite way of healing, the subscribe button. Alright guys, with just one easy click, you could heal my heal my health bar all the way up to 1,000. Alright, check this out. And just like that, all my wounds are healed, guys. Just one easy subscribe, and it's the best, alright? You can't beat it. Just keep that in mind. Assuming we all agree on what works as a healing mechanic, let's look at what fails to do the same. Some games just have health drops throughout combat or when looting an area, which can be very helpful and can even save a run if you were making a ton of mistakes. But this isn't always a good thing, however, because it can remove that feeling of stress that keeps us so engaged in the game in the first place. This might be a bit of an extreme example, but look at the LEGO games. Have you ever felt stressed playing a LEGO game due to losing your hearts? I hope not. The only time I feel health drops work in a game is when they aren't very common, like in Battle Royale games. Healing items are found around the entire map, but aren't going to always be waiting for you behind every door. Everything always comes down to balancing at the end of the day, and a lot of games lately just overdo it. Like the Sonic franchise, for instance. It doesn't have a traditional health bar, but it does have the rings, and the moment you drop below 0, you lose. But that's where the issue lies. There are like 50 to 150 rings per stage. The odds of you losing are so low, especially when you can just pick your dropped rings right back up. But I think this is more of a Sonic issue rather than a healing issue. I play a lot of games that have a lifesteal mechanic to them. This means that you heal from a percentage of damage dealt to an opponent. Say you have 25% lifesteal and you deal 100 damage. You would heal for 25 HP. Sounds really fair, right? Well, it could be, but it's really not, because it's never that low of damage being dealt. Lifesteal is so hard for a game to balance, for numerous different reasons. Making it too weak could cause an entire character or role to suffer, but making it too strong causes everyone else to suffer. It's a bit of a touchy topic. Even big names like Riot Games and Valve can't seem to crack it. Most, if not all of the things I've listed for both positive and negative aspects could be swapped around by just making a few balancing changes. Supports can be, and usually are, super toxic and overtuned to play against. Some games actually give you way too many healing options, while others just can't seem to understand how to keep the stress level high. But at the end of the day, we're nothing without our heals, and sometimes we really do just have to get good. This is an ever-growing topic that changes almost weekly due to patch notes, updates, and even new ideas coming into play. I'm excited to see where the gaming industry goes, and I hope to see it improve. And if there are any other major ways of healing that I missed out, please let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Oh, huge? Yo, Connor! Oh my god, everyone say good job, Connor!
Good job, Connor!
What the fuck is happening? Shit.